Welcome to our program, Coach to Coach. Today's guest is Howard Longstaff. Howard's an executive career, business, and life coach with over 30 years' experience building, scaling, and selling companies across 3 continents. Howard founded Redfish Coaching to help individuals stand out, get noticed, and succeed. Whether it's career coaching, business mentoring, or personal development, his goal is to help people get seen, heard, and hired. Thanks for joining us today, Howard. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Coach to Coach.
Thank you, Greg.
So I love to kick these off by asking what first sparked your interest in coaching?
Oh, I think we talked about this earlier insofar as that I've been coaching for about 20 years, but it was very much part-time and off the back of my recruiting business. And this was really where, as a headhunter, you would try and funnel people down and you'd present a short list of maybe 3 or 5 candidates to a client.
Mm,
And obviously, if there's only one job, then only one person gets the job. And some of those people came back to me and sort of said, well, what did I do wrong? And then they would sort of, quite often they would say, well, I'll pay you, tell me,
mm,
coach me, tell me what I need to do to get it right next time.
yeah,
And with some of them, that's where I sort of started helping people. And that was right the way down to, getting their resumes sorted out, sorting them out with interview techniques. And quite often that sort of spilled a little bit into the life coaching as well.
mm,
It was never really something that I went after because I was chasing the placement side of what I was doing, and that was worth sort of anything from 25, 35, 40 grand a pop. So
mm,
that's where the effort went in. But anybody that put the hand up and said, look, will you coach me? Will you help me? Then I couldn't say no.
mm,
And over a long period of time, and the reason I got into coaching full time was really from the point of view that the thing that got me out of bed in the morning was when I had a coaching client that I was going to go and help. And that's what got me out of bed. It wasn't chasing the placement for 35, 40 grand.
mm,
It was the sheer joy of going and helping somebody, improve their chances of getting that job.
mm.
Um, so that's where and why I sort of decided to do it full time, and that was about 3 years ago.
Great. Yeah, I mean, similar story for me. You know, being able to have that impact on somebody's life is very fulfilling for me,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's what I hear for you too.
yeah. And I've had one of those recently with a guy who, strangely enough, his sister bought 2 sessions with me.
Mm,
He then bought 2 sessions, and it's become a little bit of a mantra for me. It's he starts off. He did a little testimonial, and it was. He said, I was very doubtful if coaching was going to work for me. He said, but within the first couple of minutes, he said, you made me feel like the most important person in the room.
mm,
And that has just sort of stayed with me. And if I can do that for every client,
mm.
then for me, that's the real difference.
Yeah, love that. I mentioned in the intro that you founded Redfish Coaching, so I'm wondering if you could tell us a little
Yep.
bit about your practice, how you work, and who you're helping, what kind of clients, and so on.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've gone through a bit of a loop over the last over the last 3 years. It's been the first year that I started doing. I was doing a lot of pro bono work, working with a lot of women, and I've always had a natural propensity of getting on well with women. I'm not your typical football down the pub drinking sort of guy.
Mm,
Um, I enjoy women's company a lot. I come from very much a matriarch family. Um, so that was really a good place for me to start. And there it was, a lot of it was anxiety and, depression. It was a lot of imposter syndrome. Um, and it was my own coach who then sort of turned around and sort of said, well, why don't you, do more with men? And
mm,
I said, well, how? She said, well, do a men's group. So I started a men's group, and that was, networking and mental health group. We typically have speakers come in, once a month, and they talk about a particular subject, and we work on the basis of, you don't know what you don't know.
mm,
Um, But over time, some of those people have actually asked me to coach them.
Mm,
I've never used it as a, you know, um, you know, trying to trying to get coaching clients out of it. I've waited until they've naturally come to me, and asked me for help. Um, I went through last year. Um, I was doing an awful lot of career coaching, and this was either people looking for a promotion, people looking for more money, or people that were stuck on or had been stuck on the bench for, months and months and months. And I was helping them get back in and get a job.
mm,
The hiring process has changed globally. A lot of companies are using technology, they're using ATS systems, they're using AI in lots of different ways. And the old traditional, sending through a resume, sending through a CV, just wasn't working anymore, and
mm,
and they weren't getting through to the hiring managers. So doing two things. One was making yourself appealing to the hiring manager, and making yourself appealing to the ATS systems was where I was sort of helping people.
mm.
And they were going from getting, maybe one interview every sort of 2 or 3 months to getting 5 and 6 and 8 interviews a month.
Wow.
Um, and the guy I had earlier this year, as I said, his sister paid for the first 2 sessions. He then paid for the next 2 sessions, and I've continued to work with him. And he was a product director. Spent 8 months on the bench, and we've taken him right through the journey until he's got a job and he's landed it, and he's been there a month now. And as he keeps saying to me every time, he said, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you.
Mm,
So an awful lot of pride for me, being able to help and change somebody's life who, when I first met him, had no confidence at all, had lost, any grain of, ownership for getting back to work. And now he's running a team of, I don't know, 20 developers, across, 3 continents.
wow.
Um, and that's the reward you get from it, without a
Yeah.
doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of, I always thought about it as, I don't know, some weird irony or something that, people that are, as you mentioned, on the bench, people who've been made redundant or lost their jobs for whatever reason, who paying for coaching is like the furthest thing from their mind.
Yeah,
Yet simultaneously, it's probably the single most helpful thing they could do for themselves, if they find
yeah,
the right coach anyway.
and sometimes you have to pick them up and shake them, and stand them on their feet again, and
Yeah.
kick them up the arse and get them moving again, just to
Yeah.
get the blood flowing. But the results are fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, and certainly from their side, that you make a lifelong friend with some of them.
Mm,
I mean, there's another guy around the same time. You know, he was searching for one particular type of role, and he's ended up in a completely different role, and he now loves it.
mm,
So I have a real balance between career coaching, life coaching, and business coaching. On the business side, most of it is they're either, SME, founders, CEOs running small companies, or they're solopreneurs.
mm,
Whereas my background has been very much, enterprise sales, software companies, and that's probably the area that I'll seek back to go back to.
mm. You shared an example of the gentleman who got the job after being on the bench. I wonder if in one of these other areas you just mentioned, like solopreneurs or whatnot, if there's another example or two you can share with the audience so that they can
Oh,
maybe see themselves in the story and go, oh yeah, I could use some of that.
well, at the moment, I've got two graphic artists, and they don't just design. One guy's a real ideas guy,
Mm,
another guy is a real branding guy, and it's the same thing with a lot of professions. You may well be incredibly good at what you do, but you might not be good in business.
mm,
And you might not know how to go out and find and create clients. Um, you know, just having little initiatives to do things with. I did a workshop back in January, and this was all about setting targets.
Mm,
And if you do what you did last year, then you're going to make the same amount of money that you did last year. So changing some of the things that you did last year with bringing in some new things, then the chances are you're going to affect your revenue moving forward.
mm,
And what I basically do is give them things, processes, systems to put in place, so that it's the old adage: if you can't track it, then you can't measure it. If you can't measure it, then you don't know where you are.
mm,
So helping them do that, giving them incentives, things to create and try, then typically, with both of these individuals, I'm looking to double their revenue as quickly as possible.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, I love what you said. It reminds me of I can't remember what audio it was, but one of Steve Chandler's audios where he talks about our brain works with specifics. It doesn't work with generalities very well. So it's like, okay, I'm going to try to find some clients this month, and your system is like, oh, we're doing that trying thing. Whereas if you say, I want 5 clients in the next 2 months or 10 clients in the next whatever, it can work with that because
And and I get even more specific.
yeah.
I work on the basis, okay, let's do this, let's try this, and let's do it with 10 people.
Mm,
And let's then look at the result that we get from those 10 people and then apply it to another 10 and another 10
mm,
so that we can measure and seeing how the impact that they get, because they get more comfortable with it. Because a lot of the time this is outside their comfort zone because, for these guys, they're graphic artists.
yeah,
They're not business people. They're not salespeople. It's who they're being and who they turn up as. That's why, people are choosing to work with them because of the quality of the work that they delivered.
yeah.
But being business people, being salespeople, having to go out and reach out to, 15, 20, 30, people on a regular basis, they're not comfortable doing that.
Mm,
So making it fun, and seeing the results, and seeing the results as financials, that really makes a difference
yeah,
for them.
yeah. I love the word you said, fun. This little
Yeah,
model behind my shoulder here. This is a model of this toy is the model for my coach circle, and that top blue ring stands for fun. That's
yeah.
um, it's yeah, you got to have fun. If you're not having fun,
Then there's no point.
what are you
Yeah,
doing?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, that's great. I'm just listening to you going like, oh yeah, I need to do more of that myself in my business. So thank you
And
for that.
and you don't have to go out and make, 20, 30 clients,
Yeah.
just by breaking it down. I mean, and again, this goes back to the workshop I did in January that, you know, you might set your goals for the year, now break it down onto a quarterly basis, now break it down onto a monthly basis, now break it down onto a weekly basis, now break it down onto a daily basis,
Mm,
and just look at what you need to do
yeah.
to go and hit that target. And if you set those specifics in place and you do it consistency and persistence, then you'll get to where you want to go.
Mm.
There was a little story somebody told me about the other day about, reaching out to 10 people every day,
Yeah, exactly.
and it makes all the difference. It really does.
Yeah, yeah. And to your point earlier about um, the fear or discomfort that you or I or your clients might have,
Yeah,
we all have a number. It might be a different number, but for some people it might be 30, for another person it might be 300, but eventually you hit a number and it's not scary anymore, it's not uncomfortable anymore.
yeah.
You've done enough repetitions of it that it's just a task, and there's probably another number that you hit where it's like, oh, now I'm actually enjoying this. It's like I look forward to doing my 10 a day or whatever, because and maybe that's part of the gamification of it is it becomes a game, and you're getting the
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And if I turn around to you and say, look, you're going to do 200 of these a month,
yeah,
then that could be scary for you.
yeah,
But breaking it down, well, hold on a minute, that's 10 a day, that's 50 a week, that's 200 a month,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
Just
Absolutely.
makes it more accessible, makes it easier to cope with. And then if you try something else and do another little number on something else, very quickly, and this part of it is, I think with a lot of people, they almost need an accountability coach
Mm,
just to make sure they're doing it, every week.
yeah.
Um, because, a lot of these guys are working on their own or they're working at home and they've got nobody, supporting them or cheering them on, um, and nobody measuring what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's funny. I have a microcosm of this going on in my own house because my daughter just graduated from university and
yeah,
she's in the currently in the job search. She was moping around here yesterday because she just got three more rejection emails. And my son, who's partway through university, he's in a co-op program, so he's looking for a co-op job and kind of going through the same stuff. He's got an interview this week, so I've been uh, trying to do as best I can to encourage him to prepare for his interview uh, diligently, like and not just wing it, which is his natural style. So
yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things I do on that is, and I'll send it to you. It's about asking all of those questions and preparing.
Mm,
So, you could be, let's say, the interviewer for him.
yeah.
You could come up with all these questions. And instead of him walking into the interview and the hiring manager asking him a question that he hasn't even thought about, and then he's sort of, well, let me think about that for a minute.
Mm,
If he's already gone through it with you,
yeah.
then that answer comes straight off the top of his head
Yeah.
because you get it into your taxonomy. You've already got your answer ready and you come across as being really confident.
Yeah.
So there's none of this, oh, well, I don't know. Well, let me think about it. He's already got the answer because he's already practiced it with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to do a lot of hiring in my corporate life, and
Yeah.
it really was apparent to me who had practiced, who hadn't, and that a high percentage of people use real interviews as practice.
Yeah.
And by the time they get a job, the reason they finally get a job
Because they've been
is because
practicing so much
they've
because
been
they've
done
had so
through
many
it. Yeah,
rejections.
they've had so many rejections. They're finally good at it, but they could have saved themselves all that hardship. Although
Absolutely.
there is the math when I think I don't know if it was earlier before we started recording that you said like when you're in your recruiting business, like there's one job and there's five candidates. Like
Yeah.
there's always more candidates than there are jobs.
Somebody's going to be disappointed.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
that I mean, I tell my son, you don't have to be the ideal candidate. You just have to be the best candidate available. And one of the ways you can stand out as the best is be the most prepared.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And in most cases, that's, I mean, this particular guy I mentioned earlier, he basically said, look, if you hadn't have, taken me through that training and I hadn't had that taxonomy already built
mm,
in, he said I would have fluffed most of the questions that they asked me.
yeah,
But because we'd practiced, he said that made all the difference. And he said I came across as somebody who knew what he wanted, knew where he was going, could answer the questions that they were asking. He said, and compared to all the other candidates who weren't as prepared,
yeah,
he said, that's why I got offered the job.
yeah, yeah. It's a real skill when you think about it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
But unless somebody points it out to you, then you immediately think, oh well, I'll be all right. I'll manage it. I'll
Yeah,
fluff it. I'll get through.
yeah,
But being prepared makes all the difference.
yeah. I don't know. In my own career, I always thought of it like, you know, if you're lucky, you can go 10 or 15 years without having to go through an interview. So you get rusty pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, if there's one thing that you'd want people to take away from this conversation, what would that one thing be?
Um, One thing about me, or um,
Yeah,
one
well, let's do
thing.
one thing about you and then one thing kind of more generally. How about we do that?
Okay. So one thing about me, I suppose I always look. I now look at myself as being that coach that I always wanted. I'm 65. I'm nearly 66.
Mm,
And if I could go back to my 30s, then I'm now the coach that I would have wanted.
mm,
Um, somebody who's, got the war scars, been through the trials and tribulations, and could advise me what to do. So I suppose, what I see myself as now in being able to help other people, because I've been through the trenches,
Mm,
and I've survived, and I can now help other people.
yeah.
Um, Generally, I'm not perfect, and I still have that hunger to do better.
Mm,
Um, I'd like to move back into the corporate world, because that's something I feel is home for me. Um, it's just, I suppose, partly having the courage to take the bull by the horns and go and do it.
mm.
And if that's 10 calls a day or 10 emails or 10 messages,
Yeah,
then that's what it's going to take.
yeah, I love it. If people want to find out more about you and what you've got going on, where can they reach you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, Howard Longstaff. I'm on Facebook. I do a podcast called Across the Pond: Conversation with David and Howard. Who David is a friend of mine in the US, somebody I've known for about 20 years, and we typically have conversations with other coaches, so not dissimilar from yours. Um,
Nice.
um,
Is that on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, all the
on
usual?
YouTube, and it's once a fortnight, and comes out and is available to anybody that wants to listen.
Nice. Well, I'll certainly be sampling that myself. So thanks for that. And thanks for being here with me today. I really appreciate your time and I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Excellent. Greg, many, many thanks indeed,
Yeah.
and all the best with the future.
All right. Thanks, Howard. Send you.
Okay.
Take care. Cheers.
Bye.